The gunshot echoed through the quiet suburban streets, its impact leaving a community frozen in disbelief. Neighbors peered from behind drawn curtains, too afraid to move. But what if the weapon that ended the life of Kirk, a local hero, was something more than just a murder weapon? What if it was untraceable? A voice crackles over a 911 call, trembling, frantic. It was quick, he didn't even see it coming. But what if that was just the beginning of a much darker mystery? A puzzle that no one could have predicted. Central mystery question: who was behind the death of Kirk, an upstanding, respected leader in his community? And more chillingly, how could the weapon used to kill him be completely untraceable? No serial number, no registration, no paper trail. This is more than just a murder. It's a case of betrayal, secrets, and forces lurking in the shadows, out of reach of the law. A single bullet, a missing gun, a trail gone cold. The weapon used to kill Kirk has vanished, leaving no trace of its origin. What does this untraceable weapon reveal about the forces at play? Is it possible that the killer has already slipped through the cracks, unseen, unnoticed, and untouchable? Like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Help us uncover the truth behind this haunting case. Once the initial chaos settled, forensic teams got to work. The .30-06 bullet recovered from Kirk's body matched the ammunition type used in the rifle found nearby. But unlike modern firearms, this gun had a fatal legal advantage. It predated mandatory serial numbers under the 1968 Gun Control Act. That meant investigators had no way to trace the weapon to a store, a buyer, or a federal record. It was as if the gun had appeared from thin air. But there was one lead: DNA. Forensic testing revealed Tyler James Robinson, 22 years old, had left trace DNA on the trigger and bolt handle. It was enough for prosecutors to charge him with first-degree aggravated murder and use of a weapon of mass destruction under Utah law. He had no prior criminal record, no firearms license, and no obvious connection to Kirk. Which led to an even deeper mystery. Kirk had never seen his killer. Witnesses reported he never even looked up. He was targeted from a distance, by someone who had planned this carefully, deliberately. No manifesto was found, no threat was posted. But when investigators searched Robinson's devices, what they found disturbed them. Encrypted chats, anti-government memes, and long-forgotten posts referencing cleansing corruption through precision. But none of it directly referenced Kirk. There was no clear motive. Not yet. As pressure mounted on investigators, a new name surfaced. Maya Ellington, a university staff member and administrative liaison who was one of the last people to see Charlie Kirk alive. She wasn't just a bystander. But that's not where her involvement ends. Maya had access to campus schedules, speaker lists, security maps. She worked in internal event planning, meaning she had visibility into where Kirk would be, and when. She claims she alerted security about a suspicious maintenance request, logged days before the event. That request? It came from a dummy account traced back to a burner device. Her warning, according to emails, was never followed up on. Then came the twist. Public records revealed Maya had once been in a student group with Robinson during their brief overlap at a local community college in 2021. The connection was thin, but it was enough to raise alarms. Was she genuinely helping the investigation or covering her own tracks? The media was split. Some labeled her a hero for stepping forward with insight the police had overlooked. Others accused her of being too close to the chaos to be a coincidence. In a case filled with ambiguity, Maya became the moral fault line. Was she speaking up because she couldn't live with the guilt? Or had she waited too long enough to cast doubt on her own motives? No charges have been filed against her, but public opinion remains divided. What do you believe? Was Maya Ellington a whistleblower or a silent accomplice? Drop your take in the comments, and don't forget to like if you believe more people might be involved than we know. Act 6. Motive and lingering questions. 1214 Possible motives. The motives behind Kirk's assassination remain speculative. Was it ideological? Some investigators believe he was targeted by a shadowy faction tied to local politics. Was it personal? Perhaps Maxwell and Rebecca's connections to Kirk were more complex than anyone realized. What remains unproven? Was the untraceable weapon a one-off or part of a larger operation? Could there be a hidden network protecting the killer? How much more is still buried beneath the surface? Rhetorical questions to keep audience thinking. What if the truth about Kirk's death was deliberately concealed? Who benefits from the secrecy? And how far are people willing to go to keep this case from being solved? Then came a strange detail. Kirk's hotel room, less than a mile from the campus, was untouched, but sitting on his desk, a single sticky note. It read, "They know, but they won't stop it." Investigators still don't know what that message meant, or who it was intended for. The picture was coming into focus. A military-grade shooting plan, executed with vintage hardware, and a suspect who'd left barely a fingerprint of intention. No online threats, no prior contact. Just one silent shot that sent a message louder than any speech. But what that message was remains unanswered. Could this really be the act of a lone gunman? Or is there a deeper web behind this murder? If you think the evidence is hiding more than it shows, hit that like button and comment with your theory below. The man at the center of the investigation was not who anyone expected. Tyler James Robinson, a 22-year-old Utah native, was described by those who knew him as quiet, polite, and completely off the radar. No criminal history, no dramatic social presence, no direct ties to Charlie Kirk. He wasn't a known activist or extremist, just another name in the crowd. But the moment DNA tied him to the untraceable Mauser rifle, everything changed. Digging into Robinson's background raised more questions than it answered. He wasn't affiliated with any political party. He had no public stance on Charlie Kirk or the Turning Point organization. And yet, prosecutors allege he climbed to the top of a building, aimed with lethal precision, and executed one of the most public political killings in recent U.S. history. Why? That's where the contradictions start to appear. Online, Robinson was a different person. Investigators uncovered encrypted conversations on privacy-first platforms, discussions about neutralizing chaos, purging systems, and disturbing references to purity through legacy arms. All cryptic, all concerning, none explicitly naming Kirk. Still, the pattern was there. Robinson had recently posted anonymously in forums frequented by self-described accelerationists and fringe anti-government ideologues. While none of it was illegal, the content painted a picture of isolation, resentment, and a simmering detachment from reality. Was Robinson radicalized, or was this something more personal? Neighbors say he was withdrawn but not hostile. He lived alone, no job history since early 2024. And then there was the rifle, a weapon inherited from his grandfather, tucked away in an attic until the day it was allegedly used. Was this murder a calculated ideology, or a desperate act of significance? Is Tyler James Robinson the mastermind, or just a pawn in something larger? Comment your theory below. Are we seeing the surface of a lone wolf, or the edge of a coordinated plot? The aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination didn't just leave a physical void, it sent emotional shockwaves across the country. In Orem, Utah, the local community was rattled. Utah Valley University immediately suspended classes. A campus once known for quiet scholarship and student debates now became a flashpoint for national grief and confusion. Flags were lowered, students gathered for candlelight vigils, and thousands turned out to honor a man who, whether you agreed with him or not, stood as a symbol of free speech in modern American discourse. Kirk's family, in a tearful public statement, said they were shattered by the loss, struggling to understand how a man so committed to his beliefs could be taken so violently, without warning. They asked one question shared by millions. Why him, and why now? But as the shock settled, the speculation ignited. National media outlets scrambled to cover the case. Networks ran rolling coverage of the investigation, replaying the rooftop angle, forensic findings, and profiles of the accused. The news cycle was relentless. And online, it exploded. On social media platforms, hashtags like Justice for Kirk and UVU shooting began trending within hours. YouTube creators, Reddit threads, and Twitter sleuths raced to break the case wide open. And where fact faltered, theories flourished. Some claimed it was a targeted political hit, orchestrated by shadowy anti-establishment groups. Others argued it was a false flag designed to silence far-right voices. A few even speculated that Kirk's own security team had failed him, intentionally. None of these theories have been substantiated, but that hasn't stopped them from spreading. Beneath it all lies a deeper societal unease. Kirk's death has become a mirror, reflecting a growing truth in American life. That division runs deep. and violence, once unthinkable in public political discourse, is no longer off the table. The assassination raises critical questions about security at public events, the accessibility of vintage firearms, and the blurred lines between free speech and radicalization. And maybe most unsettling of all, this case has become a symbol of something bigger, something harder to define. What happens when ideology replaces humanity? When someone sees their target not as a person, but a symbol? This wasn't just a murder, it was a message. The only question now is, who was the message really for? Charlie Kirk's assassination has left behind a chilling puzzle, one with too many missing pieces and far too few answers. An untraceable weapon, a relic from another time, chosen not just for its lethality but for its legal invisibility. A single cryptic note that suggests forethought, or perhaps a warning. A seemingly average suspect with no public motive but just enough digital fingerprints to raise suspicion. And a key insider caught between heroism and suspicion, her motive still unclear. This case is not closed, it's only just beginning to unfold. And now we're left asking ourselves, what would it take to erase your tracks completely? If you had the tools, the timing, the silence, could you disappear behind the crime? And more importantly, what does that mean for the rest of us, those still searching for the truth? Because in a world of encrypted messages, vintage rifles, and fractured narratives, the scariest part might not be what we know. It's what we've missed. Comment below, who do you think is truly behind this? Was this the work of a lone actor? Or something much more organized, more coordinated, more dangerous? Like this video if you want us to keep following this story. Share it to keep the conversation alive. And don't forget to subscribe, because new details are still emerging, and this case, it's far from over. As we wait for new revelations, one truth remains. The murder of Charlie Kirk may not just be a tragic act of violence. It may be the first chapter in a story far darker, far deeper, and far more deliberate than we've dared to imagine. The question is, are we ready for the next piece to fall?